Hello, I'm Brian. Yesterday we had a 105-degree day, pretty hot for this time of year, and with my brother out of town, he wants me to check on his plants with his drip irrigation setup. They're not set up for a 105-degree day, so we'll be swinging by his place later to give his plants supplemental water. Before we do that, we'll be checking on these potatoes. Actually, we'll be harvesting some potatoes, a Yukon Gold, and then some heirloom Peruvian potatoes, and we'll talk a little bit about them. Behind me is this potato tower looking rig device, and this was made and was implemented before I learned about growing potatoes. Some of the things I learned about, thanks to viewers and their comments, is that potatoes like to have cool roots. So one of the reasons why they're mound or hilled is to keep their roots and the tubers cool. And then secondly, the other reason people mound potatoes is when they grow the indeterminate type of potato. So potatoes are like tomatoes. There are indeterminate and determinate types. The ones that we're growing are determinate type of potato. So we're not going to be growing them and mounding them all the way up to here. So this thing we're not going to use from now on because it doesn't apply to the potatoes that we're growing. So let's go and dig these out and see how big they are. And it's always a mystery and a wonder to see how big and how many potatoes that we get. This is our potato plant that's all tried and shriveled, and that's how you know you can go after the potatoes. This is a weed that we're going to feed our rabbit and tortoise. This is a wandering Jew plant. Okay, not too many potatoes to get back. These are just going to be going back to being planted. This was our original potato. Here we are with a bucket where these purple potatoes that my brother found at a farmer's market a few years ago are grown, and they've kind of been grown as a back burner item, meaning I don't put too much of effort into them. I just put them in here, put some soil, and then let them go and see what happens. So I haven't gotten them back to the size that my brother found them. So we usually get something about this big, and there are a bunch underneath here. I'm not sure how big they are. We won't be able to dig them out because there's a watermelon that's still growing in here. But there are some that have been planted in the ground this year with a little bit more effort put into it, and we'll see how big they are. Potatoes that we eat today are domesticated from wild potatoes like these guys, and they originated from Peru. They're typically finger-long potatoes, and these are great for you because they're purple, which means they have antioxidant properties. So even though they're not big, there's enough of a harvest to make a meal out of them. Swinging around a few feet, we have some purple potatoes that are grown in the ground, and we'll see how big they are. Hopefully they're bigger than our Yukon potatoes. We have earthworms. We're going to harvest some of these guys for the new planting area that was just created. Alright, we're getting somewhere now. We're getting a long one back. Not very big, but it's pretty long. Here's our very meager harvest of potatoes. We have a couple of Yukon Gold potatoes, and once again these are just grown with minimal effort, very little soil amendment. So other than growing these guys for fun, they're not really worth it to grow because they're so inexpensive at the supermarket. But for the purple potato, these are difficult to locate at the supermarket. So this may be worth it when it comes to putting some effort and giving the soil amendment and all that stuff. So this long and slender one, just looking forward to growing it again. We're getting somewhere as far as growing it back to a long and slender potato. We still have some in the bucket to harvest, and we'll get to them once we get this watermelon harvested. So with the planting area that we just pulled the purple potatoes out of, we're going to improve the soil and in hopes of getting better potatoes, the purple ones. And by improving the soil, I'm going to add in some peat moss. Peat moss will keep the soil nice and loose, and it'll increase the acidity of our soil. In California clay, it's very alkaline, so I add a lot of peat moss to the soil for that reason. And then I'm going to use a cheap amendment material, which is steer manure. I'm going to add that in there, and then we'll come back and plant our potatoes maybe in a week or so. Hopefully they'll sprout over fall and winter, and we'll get big and beautiful purple potatoes. So I'm gonna get going on that, and until next time, thanks for coming out and gardening with me, and checking out with me how big or how little the potatoes are. So thanks again for watching, and catch you next time. It's a Klondike Stripe Blue Ribbon watermelon. At least that's what I remember planting. It's either that or a yellow flesh one, but I'm pretty sure it's the Klondike. It's got an interesting shape. It has a very pear shape, which is an indication that it didn't get pollinated very well. And this is our first Klondike Stripe Blue Ribbon. There are a couple of more, but this one's ready to go. The tendrils are brown, so we'll harvest it, cut it open, and see what it looks like inside. Okay, here's our Klondike watermelon. It's an heirloom variety bred in California, and let's see what it looks like. Let's cut it open. It's a little bit salmon color. Wish it was a little bit more red, but we'll find out if it's sweet or not. Lots of seeds. So definitely be saving the seeds to plant next year. At the very least, these seeds in theory have acclimated to our climate. Let's taste it. Very sweet. Has more of a cucumber flavor right now, and that's probably the function of this thing not being as red, but there is sweetness. One of the things that I sort of missed about seeded watermelons is I remember as a kid, although they were a nuisance, they were kind of fun to spit out.